due to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I thank Allah, and we all should thank Allah for his intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. We thank him. I said we should all thank Allah for his intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Why? Because all of the scientists that calculate conditions and then determine response to conditions by means of messengers, prophets, and revelation, when they looked at us here in the wilderness of North America, they said that we were too messed up for any messenger or prophet or revealed word to fix us. But there was one by the name of Afonso, who is the father of Master Farad Muhammad, who disagreed with the other 11 and said, no, I think I can prepare a boy that can go to the West and raise that people that you deem to be a lost cause. And we bear witness that he did that by raising up his son, Master Farad Muhammad. We thank him for coming among us and raising up in our midst his messenger and Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank the two of them today for giving us such a beautiful example of what we can become if we submit to truth. He is a model of love, a model of courage, a model of consistency, a model of loyalty. He is a model of a man and a model of a woman, if you understand it. And I'm talking about our chief teacher today, the greatest student of a man that has ever had a student, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for these three in the line of divine. Today, brothers and sisters, we are taking on a subject titled Mind Wars. As you and I pretty much know, that anytime the conversation of war is talked about, you always deal generally with land, water, is that right? Sky, submarine, under the water, desert, jungle, right? Outer space. But very rarely do you hear the subject of war attached to mind. In fact, when you study the Marine Corps' warfare books, the Army's warfare books, they talk generally about 14 different types of war. 1, attrition warfare, guerrilla warfare, maneuver warfare, siege warfare, total warfare, trench warfare, conventional warfare, unconventional, asymmetric counter-insurgency, air, land battle, cold war, proxy war, but they don't talk about mind wars, at least not in their public documents. But digging a little bit deeper into the warfare stratagem of the United States government, we found down in the Department of Defense U.S. Army Field Manual 33-1, mind wars mentioned in a very slick, subtle way. Did you hear? See, even though they only talk about war on land, war on sea, and war in the sky, there is a whole nother war going on without us even knowing about it. So you'll hear people drop little stuff and they'll say silent weapons or invisible wars. Is that right? You'll hear people talk every now and then about social engineering, information audit, perception managers, or what we would call opinion gangsters. war without people knowing that they are fighting it. So even though in the military papers they don't talk about mind wars or psychological warfare as one of the chief battle plans, look deeper down into it. And in the Department of Defense U.S. Army Field Manual 33-1s, there's something called PSYOPs. PSYOPs, which is an abbreviation for psychological operations. Did y'all hear me? The definition, according to the Department of Defense, for psychological operations is any form of communication in support of objectives designed to influence opinions, emotions, attitudes, or behavior of any group in order to benefit the sponsor either directly or indirectly. In other words, even though there's only 14 warfare strategies that are talked about, inside of guerrilla warfare is PSYOPs. Inside of total warfare is PSYOPs. Inside of land, air, and sea warfare, there's a whole nother battle going on that is a psychological battle. And long before they ever drop bombs on people, long before they ever put tanks on the ground, long before they ever engage in ethnic cleansing or genocide, before they ever attack the body or the building of the people that they are at war with, they clash with their minds by sending in information warriors, opinion gangsters, social engineers, perception managers. His job is to try to turn the people attitude, opinion, emotions, and behavior in a way that they will become their own enemy. So the bigger enemy don't have to do anything but fix the mind, and if the mind gets altered, then the people will clash with one another. Did y'all hear me? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that whoever prescribes the diameter of your feet controls or prescribes the circumference of your activity. So whenever you have social engineers, opinion gangsters, or perception managers, or information warriors that go in before the Navy, before the Air Force, the Army, and the Marines, not to destroy buildings and bombs, but to destroy the behavior of people, then they work on renegotiating the diameter of the thinking of the people, turning them against their own kind. The next thing you know, they stand back and push buttons. So when you study the CIA and what they did to try to assassinate Fidel Castro in '63, when you study the CIA and what they did to destroy Grenada, when you study the CIA and study what they did to destroy Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, when you study the CIA and what they did to destroy Iraq and what they plan to do to destroy Iran, and with their ultimate aim of Farrakhan and the nation, they say that we don't do the job. Look in the Freedom of Information Act and dig up the CIA, and you'll find that their goal is to precipitate conditions that justify overthrow. Meaning I'm not coming to swing my hand, but I'll drop a flyer. I'll put a tape out there. I'll put some agents in. I'll drop down not soldiers in fatigue, but I'll drop down men in business suits, doctors in white smocks. I'll put professors in your institution, and they will appear to be a professor, appear to be a scholar and a doctor, appear to be a news anchor, but under the table they are my information warriors. They're my perception managers. They're my opinion gangsters. They are social engineers hired by the government to destroy opinions and belief systems, behaviors, and attitudes, and manipulate the emotions of the people. So once I get into the mind, I don't have to drop no bombs. I've already dropped not a weapon of mass destruction, but a weapon of mass deception. Make sense? So when you look at white people and the way they wage war, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the great master teacher, who obviously seen things in advance, because everything that he said 80 years ago is bearing witness to today. His word is being bombed. He said the fall of America, what's happening? The decline of the dollar, what's going on? He said that in the last days you will be looking for blacks to be the leaders of revolution, but it'll be your own people. What is Occupy Wall Street? He said that Allah would use the elements of nature as weapons against America. What's happening with the rain, hail, snow, earthquakes? Don't you know that in California, wind has been blowing at 100 some odd miles per hour? Do you know that historically it's always been faster to fly from California to New York than to fly from New York to California, even though both of them are the same distance? Why? Because the planet revolves on its own axis at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour in the same right direction, from east to the west. So, or from west to the east, technically. So whenever it's turning, naturally it's creating its own wind current. So since a plane gets up in the air and has to fly, if wind is behind it, it can move fast. So coming from west to east, because wind has naturally been behind it, you can go from California to New York faster than you can go from New York to California. But all of a sudden, in the twinkling of an eye, a shot of an owl appeared. And one day they woke up and the wind wasn't blowing from the west to the east, it goes east to west. And the infrastructure of the west couldn't handle the breeze that was coming. What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say was going to take place? So when the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the master teacher, put this revolutionary concept out there for you and me to wait. And really, I'm going to be honest with you. The most successful among us will be the ones that can convert the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad out of the category of being a suggestion or an opinion or just a fact into a law that governs our lives. And the sooner we get to the point where we accept the teaching as a law, not as an option, not as a suggestion, not as a request, but it is a law. And laws are not broken. I know what I said. I said laws are not broken. You say, but he fornicated. He broke the law. No, he didn't. The law broke him. He stole. He broke the law. No, he didn't. The law broke him. Because after we steal, after we fornicate, it don't make the law look crooked in the scripture. It don't lose no letters. No matter how many people been fornicating, the O haven't fallen out. It's still intact as it was from the mind of God. So the law was not broken by the man. The law broke the man. A law never is negotiated. A law is a standard. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that everything you see happening in the East is a sign of what is coming to the West. say, well, them are Arabs over there. Them are Persians. Them are Libyans. They from Belize, Venezuela. Yeah, see, why does the devil call our people African? Master Farad Muhammad asked the question, and the answer is to make our people believe that we are all different. Is that right? So that he can use us as a slave and also a tool. Is that right? He wants us to think that we are all different from one another, but take off the labels and you look at Gaddafi. You look at Saddam Hussein. You look at Ahmadinejad. You look at the people that America has been bombing for the last 100 years. Every last one of them look like you and me. All praise is due to Allah. That is us. And if it is a sign that what you think is coming toward you and me, it's the same thing. Well, if that is the case, and it is, not because of the opinion of the messenger, or the suggestion of the messenger, or because of the request, but because what he said is a law, then it is not going to be negotiated. It will materialize. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, what Allah revealed is the truth. I don't think you heard what I said. What Allah revealed is the truth. That means you can be looking at one thing, and if it's different than what Allah revealed, what you're looking at, you're not even seeing it right. Because if you don't see it as Allah revealed it, then you're not looking at it through the proper lenses. What Allah revealed is the truth. There is nothing that he has said that will not come to pass if he said it was going to come to pass. What Allah revealed is the truth. When Allah's help and victory comes, Allah said it, victory is coming. The stone that all the builders rejected will be the cornerstone of the house. If Allah said it, it is the truth. The lost sheep of the house of Israel will become raised again. If he said it, it what? It is the truth. After the time that they've been served, a nation 400 years, I'm coming, God talking, and I'm going to bring them out with great substance. If Allah revealed it, it is the truth. Now, it may not be in accord with our own schedule, because we pulled out our little organizer, didn't we? As soon as we began to hear about the destruction, the wheels going to drop bombs, the judgment of Allah, he going to get rid of all of our enemies, the hereafter. We said, okay, August 23rd, 1 p.m., in 2011, we scheduled this. That's what I think is going to happen. Let me set my reminder. First alert at the time of the destruction. Second alert 15, or first alert 15 minutes before, second alert the time. And then it showed. And we began to doubt what Allah reveals because it did not happen on our schedule. The same Negro that can't even wake up without an alarm clock. Did you hear me? We can't wake up without an alarm clock. Yet we so masterful that we getting ready to say when it's going to happen. And if it don't happen when I said God line, no, what Allah revealed is the truth. Yes, sir. It's just a matter of time. Yes, sir. Well, whenever the enemy wages war, our enemy knows that what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said is the truth. Because what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying, he didn't get from a college. He didn't get from the internet. It wasn't out. What he says is not in the encyclopedia. And even if it was, he only went to the 3rd grade. So what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching, it is what Allah has revealed. And what Allah revealed, what is the truth. Make sense? Well, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that out of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward the research. That means when I want to find any book or study to figure out what is going to be, I should look at what has been. For what was determines what is. And what is determines what is to come. In social behavior, they say that the best predictor of future behavior is past conduct. Same statement, just say it different. But when white people wage war in the past, they always study the warriors from the past. Is this truth? To figure out how they can use the principles of warfare that were successful with one ruler in a new time period. One of the greatest of those that they study is a man by the name of Napoleon Bonaparte. Is that right? Listen to what this man said. There are only 2 powers in the world: the sword and the mind. He said there are only 2 powers in the world, the what? Which would mean physical weapons. Is that right? When he said that, that was their weapons of choice. Today, in modern translation, we might say the atomic or the nuclear bomb. We might say drones. But he said that there are only 2 powers in the world, the sword and the what? The mind. And in the long run, he says, the sword is always beaten by the mind. But what makes sense then is that if the sword, history's best qualified to reward research, and do they not lean on this man as a counselor to figure out strategy, tactics, and maneuvers for fighting war in the modern times? Answer is yes. Well, if he's saying that the mind in the long run always beats out the sword, then they cannot invest a lot of money in drones, nuclear weapons, stealth bombers, and sophisticated radar systems and tanks. They ultimately got to figure out a way to conquer the minds of people. Does this make sense? So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in the message to the black man, in a chapter titled The Battle in the Sky, says, since 1914, which was the end of the time given to the devil's white race to rule the original people, black nation. I said 1914 was the end of their rule. What's happening? If their time is up, why are they still in power? It's because for every action in nature there has to be an equal, an opposite reaction. So if they are going to come down, there has to be an equal and opposite reaction of the people that are going up. Does this make sense? So Satan, whenever he asks Allah in the Quran, respite me to the day that they are raised, Allah says, surely thou art of the respited ones. Respite means delay of doom, delay of judgment. In other words, hold off the judgment on me until not August the 30th, not 2012, He didn't say a time or a date, a week or a month. He said till a condition takes place. There's a group called they. And when they are raised, then the doom and the judgment is coming. Well, they are the so-called American Negroes in America, because they are us. So the enemy has always worked to make sure you and me never come up, because he knows that his time was up in 1914. And the only thing keeping him up is that we're not climbing up to move him down. Y'all still with me? Now guess what the messenger goes on to say? He says man has been preparing for a final showdown in the skies, plural. Skies, plural. Listen to this. He has made a remarkable advancement in everything pertaining to a deadly, destructive war in the sky. Sky is plural in the first sentence. Now sky is singular in the second sentence. Why? Because for every physical law, there is in nature a spiritual counterpart. So whenever someone says that you will go to heaven, don't mean you're going to float away. But as heaven is up, you're going to be raised. Does that make sense? So if the sky is up, yet there's battles or showdown that will take place in the skies, that means that there will be these so-called UFOs clashing with white people's weapons of warfare. But skies, plural, represent not just up above the planet, 6 miles above civilization, but also represent the minds of people. This is also a sky. Well, it goes on to say, but Allah, the best of planners, having a perfect knowledge of his enemies, prepared for their destruction long ago, even before they were created. So even though the battle is coming, Allah is already prepared for it, long before the enemy was even born on the planet. So he knows every plan before the man plans it. Did you hear me? He hears the thought of the enemy before the enemy even registers the thought in his own brain. So he's already equipped to answer him and anything that happens before it even takes place. Well, the question has to be raised. If he has the ability to stop it before it even happens, why is he letting it happen? See, Allah's will is active and certainly does things directly. Some things he just allows to happen, but everything is his will. His permissive will is designed to paint a picture in the present, to prepare people's mind for something coming bigger than that in the future. Are y'all with me? Yes, sir. So when you read the scripture, even though the language of all these battles and wars looks like it's on the land or in the air, it's really talking about a battle in the mind. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Did y'all hear me? So when Paul was teaching in the book of Ephesians, notice that he didn't say that we was going to be fighting people on the land or on the sea, or fighting people in the middle of the water. And that, you know that every time we go out into the streets to deal with our people, all the brothers always say, look, brother, we with you. I'm telling you, we with you. We not over there with y'all, but we with y'all. I said, like a lady, I'm a Muslim too. And I'm telling you, when it all hit the fan, I'm going to be there. I'm telling you, when it go down, you're going to be able to count on me. Well, I got news for you, soldier. It's already going down. It's already hit the fan. Come on and accept your own. and be yourself. Look, don't you know that you're not no real gangster? You'll never be able to out-gangster white people. Well, what the hell's the sense in trying something if you're not going to be the best at it? You still in car radios. You still in flat screen. Well, the white man stole you. Top that. You're not going to beat him at stealing, so don't stop trying. No, the original gangsters is not the brothers that were encrypted in blood on the West Coast. The original gangsters are the Celts, the Nomads, the Vikings, the Goths, the Visigoths, the Anglo-Saxons. In other words, the OGs are the cave tribes in Europe. These are the original gangsters. You are not a thug, black man. You are not a gangster. You are a God when you're really in yourself. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Do you know why Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you can sum up what Master Farad Muhammad brought to us in 6 words? Accept your own and be yourself. Why? Because you're faking. You're acting. You don't really want to be a hoochie mama. You're faking at it. You're not a pimp. You're faking at it. You're not a womanizer. You're faking at it. You're not a killer of your own people. You're faking at it. And don't you know that anytime you're not your own self, some scientists call that being locked in somebody else's valence? In other words, that you are fixed in somebody else's personality? Did you hear me? They say the average person has 50 to 100 personalities that they shift in and out on based upon re-stimulation. In other words, when it's hot outside, I'm this dude. If I show up at the mosque, I'm this sister. If I'm at work, I'm this man. If I'm driving down the street, I'm this other guy. Do you know how, that's why we so daggone tired. I ain't never, black people can sleep. There is no better sleeper on earth than black people. We the supreme sleepers. Black man can wake up at 2 in the afternoon, stretch it off, get a sip of water, look at the clock, look at the sun, take the blanket, put it over the light, go back to sleep. Hell's wrong with us? But we're so tired. You know why? Because to be other than your own self is work. When Jamie Foxx played Ray Charles, he was acting. Acting is work. Jamie Foxx showing up to be Ray Charles for those 3 or 4 hours every day was wearing him down. But if Jamie Foxx is Jamie Foxx, if he's being himself, it don't take work to be himself. Because he's not acting. Well, what happens to us when we are trying to be somebody else? We're actors. We're working. No, accept your own and be yourself, and you'll be a lot lighter on your feet. A lot easier to get along with. All praise is due to Allah. So, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the battle, the final battle, is in the sky, and then he put skies plural. So yes, physical warfare that takes place above our head with flying objects that are controlled by God and his crew, and other flying objects that are controlled by the enemy and his. that is going to be taking place. However, sky is plural. It means that don't sit around, walk around looking up all the time. Why you stay looking up? Everything going on all around you. No, there's another sky where war is being waged, and that is the sky called the mind. So in the book of Ephesians 6, verse 12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Is that right? "Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." Now, we in the streets, we got SKs, AKs, Desert Eagles. Is that right? We've got weapons. Yeah, but wait a minute. Those would be all right if we was getting ready to be worn with flesh and blood. But if we getting ready to clash with principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this world, of spiritual wickedness in high places, a handgun can't do nothing in a mind war. Y'all with me? So Allah, God says through Paul, put on the whole armor of God. Then he describes what the armor is. Your loins girt about with truth, the breastplate of righteousness, your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Take on the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. So everything that the God is instructing for this last battle is all spiritual and mental components. Breastplate of righteousness. Right? Loins girded with what? Truth. A sword of the Spirit of the Word of God. A helmet of salvation. These are all spiritual and mental weapons. Is there any mention of a physical weapon? So a few days ago, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called the believing community together, and he said, during this time, your righteousness will sustain you. Not your gallons of water, though you should have some. Not your dry navy beans, but you should have some. Not your gas mask, but you need one. Not your non-perishable food items, but you need them. But Allah says in the Holy Quran that the greatest provisions with Allah is not canned goods or beans or water or gas masks, but it is duty to Allah. So that which will allow us to survive the fall of America is not going to be physical stuff, it's going to be spiritual character. See, we don't like that. We don't want to be right, especially in a world that's wrong. A man said in the gym the other day, I had to put in 15 minutes extra of cardio. Because you know it's that time of the year. We gonna eat. Oh, we gonna eat. And the other brother he's talking to was like, you ain't lying. We gonna do that. Then listen to the language. He said, yeah, I mean, it's available. This is how weak the mind of man has become. That here you are, a man with a wife, and all I got to do is put a naked woman in front of you, and because it's available, you bowing down. Here it is, you got a little stress, a little pressure. And just because your cousin came with a dime bag, because it's available, I'm going to smoke that? Here it is, you made your mind up to be right and to be solid and strong. But because I drove past and the liquor store was available, I had to go in and drink it. What the hell's wrong with us? No, just because something is available doesn't mean that you have to bow down to it. If you see yourself in a mind war, then you will fight against the temptation and the urge of this madness. Well, what we are seeing is that the mind is the most important aspect of self. For in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, it does not say, as a man driveth down the street, so is he. Does it? As a woman weareth, so is she. No, as a man what? Thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the real definition of self is not your house you live in, the car you drive, the clothes you have on, nor the money in your pocket. The real you is made up of the thoughts that you have inside of our heads. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. My people are destroyed from a lack of Gucci. Don't say that. My people are destroyed from a lack of Coach. Don't say that. My people are destroyed from a lack of what? Knowledge. And it says, because you have rejected the knowledge and the law of your God, I too now shall reject your children. That's a whole nother lecture for another time. Brothers and sisters, the point is that you're not a body with a mind in it. You're a mind with a body wrapped around it. So if as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The way you think is what determines the real you. So the most important battlefield is not the land, not the water, not up in outer space, but the most important battlefield is the mind. Their own scholars said that the two most powerful things in the world are the sword and the mind. Didn't he say that? And in the long run, the sword always will lose to the mind. So what should we be doing? We should be getting our mind strong. Would you agree? Well, according to science, the definition of power, to prove the point that the mind is where the power is at, the definition of power in physics is work/time. In other words, power is defined by the speed at which things get done. Y'all didn't hear me. See, you and I can determine how close to Allah we are partially based upon how long it takes for us to do something. If it takes us 2 years to do what it took somebody else 2 months to do, that's a sign that we don't have that much power. Y'all with me? So power and speed are directly connected to one another. Power can't come from money or a car or a diamond. That's not where power is at. Because diamonds come from the earth. Paper made the money. And the tree made the paper, and the tree grows out of what? The earth. The automobile is made of metal that they found buried where? In the earth. Well, the earth goes 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. That's fast. But that's not the fastest thing in creation. So physical things can't give power. If I can find something in existence more moving faster than the earth. Well, sound moves faster than the earth, 1,120 feet per second. So sound trumps maturity as it relates to power. Well, guess what? Light is 186,000 miles per second. So it's moving faster than sound. So light has more power than sound, and sound has more power than the earth. And if all things came out of the earth, all physical things are subordinate to the spirit of sound and light. But if power is connected to speed, then when I find the fastest thing in creation, I found where real power comes from. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said man has 14 billion brain cells. And in between these cells, there's thought moving at the average of 24 billion miles per second. So since thought is faster than the light, sound, and the earth, and all things come from the earth, the real power is not from stuff. The real power comes from the thought that you think in your mind. Mind power is real power. All praise are due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. So in the Bible, you read and open up the book to a mind war in coded language. You say, what? A mind war? Yeah, Adam and Eve, the serpent in the garden, that's a mind war. Adam was the man. Eve was the woman. They were both in a garden. Is that right? There was a tree in the garden. Is that right? A serpent in the tree. But what's interesting that the tree is called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That couldn't be a physical tree. What tree do you know of that grows two different fruits on it? You've never went to a tree and found on one side cherries and on the other side apples. In fact, you've never found a tree that grows truth or knowledge at all. Bananas on one side and a Bible verse on the other. There's no trees like that. So the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is a symbol. The garden is a symbol. Adam and Eve are a symbol. Y'all with me? As the man, Adam's job was to look out for and protect the woman. But Adam slept. And while Adam slept, the serpent came out of the tree and convinced Eve to eat of a forbidden fruit. Then Eve took it back to her man and gave it to him. And they ate it and they failed. Scripture says all in Adam died. They were in a garden. Do you know your mind is a garden too? When you plant the seed of a thought, it begins to grow under the soil of your mind. Next thing you know, the thought grows into becoming a word. The word becomes an action. The action becomes a habit. The habit becomes your character. And your character dictates your future. Did you hear me? When we started school before the first grade, we went to a place called kindergarten, which is German for kind of a garden. In kindergarten, they're planting seeds. Where, though? The mind. Did you hear me? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if you teach a child right, that by the age of 6, they will already know what they're born in the world to do. This is why the white man always has had a saying that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. You start first grade when you're 6 years old. So the enemy makes sure he gets you in his kinder care. In the kindergarten where he can take your kind of a garden. And he can put in your mind everything that he wants you to become. So as you start first grade, from first grade all the way through college, all you are doing is reinforcing, cultivating, developing, breeding the seed planted in the kind of a garden called the mind. Well, Adam represents the conscious mind. Eve is the subconscious. Did y'all hear me? The conscious mind is called the objective mind. Subconscious is called the subjective mind. The conscious mind is considered to be the male while the subconscious is the female. Like a man's job is to protect and provide for a woman, the conscious mind's job is to protect the subconscious mind and provide data for the subconscious mind. Why? Because when the subconscious mind gets hold of it, the subconscious mind begins summoning all of the power of the being of the person, collecting all other information from life experience and from book knowledge, and working to bring whatever has been fed to it into existence. So the man or the conscious mind has to be careful that it's not sleeping and leaving the TV on, or distracted with some earplugs in their ear. See, you're not paying no attention. You talking to people, but you keep your earphones in all the time. You're running, but you're constantly listening to foolish music. I got in the car the other day and turned on the vehicle and hit the radio station. And I said, man. I said, you know what? I ain't listening to nothing that's against my purpose. And as soon as I turned it on, it said, secret lovers. That's what we are. I said, oh, hell, that don't support marriage. I'm trying to be married and you talking about some secret lovers. I got to turn you off. Then I turned the station. This was crazy. You, me, and him. I said, what? This is against my purpose. I'm trying to be committed. I like the beat. I like the melody, but I don't want to be programmed. See, what the enemy knows is that the beat is natural to man. Everything that they use in music is a reproduction of what God made in nature. Allah, He is the original musician. He made the bird to be the real horn. He made the insect to make noise like another instrument. When you hear the ocean tide, it sounds like a group of people applauding. And the heartbeat is the drum beat. So music is nature. So the enemy knows that I put the beat, touch their heart. I duplicated a horn, the sound of a bird, touch their soul. And while we are naturally attracted to the sounds of nature, he's sliding in his wicked, surreptitious, reptilian idea. So Satan, in the garden, Eve and Adam, all it means is that there's a wicked idea that's being stuck into the subconscious mind without the conscious mind being aware. And even though the conscious mind wasn't aware, Eve took it back to Adam, and Adam ate it too. So the subconscious mind ultimately is going to give it back to the conscious mind, and the conscious mind is going to act on it. That's a mind war. Then you read in Isaiah about a deep sea monster called a Leviathan. A sea monster, Leviathan, is a symbol of a submarine. A submarine is a weapon of warfare that is hidden underneath the water. Well, if you've got a subconscious mind, then the Leviathan is not just a metal submarine, it's an idea in the subconscious mind. Then later on, we read about a great wonder in heaven. And there stood a woman clothed in the sun, standing on the moon, with a crown of stars around her head, prepared to bring birth to a man-child. And there stood, lo, another wonder in heaven, a dragon whose tail could knock out a third of the stars. And it says, and the dragon spewed a flood from its mouth. Well, wait a minute, we've never seen a water-breathing dragon. First of all, there ain't no dragons, period. Other than that little Komodo dragon at the zoo. But there are no big flying, fire-breathing dragons. But even in mythology, we never heard of a water one.
But this dragon spews out a flood. The flood represents propaganda. So this propaganda, what is propaganda? Propaganda is inspirational, encouraging information that supports the ideal of the one putting it out. What did we read a little bit earlier? About the particular Department of Defense on psychological operations. Any form of communication in support of objectives designed to influence the opinions, emotions, attitudes, or behaviors of any group in order to benefit the sponsor, either directly or indirectly. In other words, that is a flood. That's called propaganda. That's a mind war. All the battles that we've been reading about in the scripture, if we just stop being spooky, looking down under the ground, and we've been looking under the ground for a devil for 400 years while we've been catching hell from a real one for 6,000. We've been living in hell, hoping and waiting to die to go to heaven, while the very people that advocate the idea are using our sweat equity to produce heaven for themselves. They in heaven and telling you, don't worry about it, you're going to die and get yours. But they riding good, living good, vacation. We went to Target in the hood. Walked in the door, Target in the hood. Had regular clothes, winter stuff. But we went to Target out north. A big old selection of swimsuits. This is December. What's the difference though? We got to dress for where we live. But since they are working us like hell, and they have heaven while they live, they can buy swimsuits because they plan on leaving. Man, that's cool, boy. You better wake up and smell the crack in the black community. All praise is due to Allah. When they crucified Jesus, they didn't crucify him because of the outfit he wore. They didn't crucify Jesus because of the money he had. They crucified the man because of his message. Is that right? Well, what would make you think that if they crucified the man because of his message, after they got rid of the man, they would leave his message intact? If the reason they were trying to kill him is because of what he taught, why would they leave his teachings intact? And they haven't left his teachings intact. They have put weapons of mass deception under the name of Jesus. So Jesus, whenever he was on the scene, he was fighting a mind war. Is that right? Didn't he say that his goal was not just to keep us from disobeying the law, but he said if you thought the thought, you've already committed the act. That's a mind war he's going after. His greatest helper, Paul, said, let this mind be in you. The same mind that was in Christ Jesus. That's a mind war. Yes, sir. What about Moses? Moses was in the town and a showdown took place between the enchanters of Pharaoh and Moses. Y'all remember the story? Check it out. Give you the modern translation. Moses was out carrying his rod, and he was performing miracles. And the enchanters were telling Pharaoh, look, he don't have no real power. He's just like us. In fact, we're more powerful than him. So Pharaoh sent the enchanters to challenge Moses to a showdown. And they met at the festival. Moses is a soldier. He got confidence. He said, let's meet in the alley. Just me and you, one-on-one. No, let's go and let's be where everybody can see us. Bring the whole hood out. That's what he said. Get everybody out. And then the enchanters came, the serpent. Began moving around, and the people was like, wow. And then Moses called upon the Lord and dropped him. And his became a serpent, but it ate the other serpent. Now y'all know that didn't really happen. You've got to stop being spooky. Did you hear me? Get the hell out of Spookville and move to a new spiritual neighborhood. Go to Logic neighborhood, the rational thought community. Did you hear me? Faith gardens, somewhere else, but get out of Spookville. It didn't happen like that. Got you walking around all your life. You actually think that a ghost got a woman pregnant and then bam, Jesus is here. Let your daughter come home pregnant. Baby, what? I'm saying I don't know how this happened. I mean, I was just walking past Eastern Star and the Spirit came up on me. Now I'm with child. No, you gonna call Maury Povich, ain't you? Gonna find out who this baby daddy is. No, that's Spookville. Common sense should tell you that if Jesus is a man, a male, that whenever a baby is born, a baby that becomes a male has to have the X and Y chromosome. But a female only has the X chromosome. So if a spirit comes together with X chromosome, then the only thing that could be produced, even if it was possible, would be a girl child. But if Jesus is a male child, then a man had to be with a woman to bring birth to a male. You say, well, how is God his father? Because he fathered his mind, but not his body. Y'all still with me? Well, this rod, have you noticed that in college, whenever someone graduates, the person that leads the graduates out always is carrying a rod in his hand? Have you noticed that? What does the rod represent? The rod represents I have attained knowledge that the rest of these have just earned. So the rod is a symbol of knowledge. So if there's a showdown between Moses and the enchanters in front of everybody, that was not a stick thrown to the ground, becoming a snake, eating a snake. That was a great debate between God's ideas that he gave to Moses and Pharaoh's ideas that he gave to the enchanters. And since Moses' snake ate the other snake, they're saying what Moses taught was superior to what the enemy was teaching. Oh, we need a showdown like that today. I remember a few years ago whenever they told the minister that if we find out that you go to Libya, anybody go to Libya, 10 years in jail and a $100,000 fine, and we're going to bring you before Congress. So Peter King found out that Farrakhan was in Libya. You say he went and the president told him not to go? You damn right. Farrakhan is not bossed by the president. He's bossed by God. All praise is due to Allah. We got to stop being such punks. White people don't let you pick their friends for you. So why should you let them pick your friends for you? So he went over there and Peter King came out and said that we want to bring Farrakhan before Congress. And the minister said in a press conference, come on with it. Bring me before Congress. I'm anxious. Listen to his words, for a showdown. Why? Because he was coming like Moses with a rod of wisdom he got from Elijah Muhammad that would have swallowed up all the falsehood that we've been taught all the days of our life, and they didn't want that showdown. All praise is due to Allah. In closing, from Genesis to Revelations, from Al-Fatiha to Al-Nas, from the time we came to America to the present day, we have been losing a mind war. And the main reason we've been losing is because we didn't even know we was in it. How can you win if you don't even know you're in the war? I'm hoping that today, after we leave, that you will stand up and be ready to be a soldier and fight on the battlefield of your mind and your baby's mind, that we can be free once and for all. All praises are due to Allah. Well, I wanted to go over the weapons of mass deception, but we don't have that kind of time. Oh, y'all want to go through them real quick? All right. Let's do this. Did you know, brothers and sisters, that Allah God in the Bible, He says that when He comes, He's going to make all things new? Do you know what that means? If He's making all things new, He's dissatisfied with everything. So God is not pleased with your church. You got your seatbelt on? God is not pleased with your masjid. God is not pleased with the government. God is not pleased with the mosque. He's coming and He's making what? He's dissatisfied with everything. Why? Because Satan the dragon, who's called Lucifer or Beelzebub, who deceiveth the whole world, he's messed everybody up. So what they call Christianity is not really Christianity, it's churchianity. It's more connected to paganism and white supremacy than it is to Jesus. And what they practice in the world today that they call Islam is really Hislam. Yes, sir. Did you hear me? Hislam. It's got the name, the label, the principles of it. It has the rituals in it, but it has too much personal culture wrapped all inside of it that messes up and poisons the bloodstream of it. Are y'all still with me? So, in the Bible, there are certain things that have been taught to us in religion. You say, well, why you want to talk about religion? Because don't you know, brothers and sisters, that whenever slavery was started, it was a physical conflict wherein they captured the body and kept us in check. But as a business, your goal is not to stay there physically beating people. Have you ever started a business? You start a business to buy time. Is that right? That's why I've never understood. How come everybody that starts a business seems to never have no time for God no more? What did you start the business for? See, the question is, do you own your own business? Or does your business own you? And if you're working and it owns you, and you don't have no time for your family, no time for your wife, no time for your children, no time for the work of saving your people, then what's the sense in having it if you don't have no time but to do it? You don't own the business. The business owns you. Well, when you do start a business, your goal is to create what they call a turnkey operation. Meaning that I'm going to create a job description, rules, bylaws, documentation that can be present without me being there. If they follow that which is a written script, then the business can roll without me being there physically. And I can do other stuff. Is that right? Well, if slavery is a business, then they had to develop documentation, paperwork, procedures, a script to keep the slaves producing without massa having to be there. So the public school system is part of their rules. Christianity is another part of their rules. So they use education and religion as a means of providing documentation to keep slavery a turnkey operation. So in the Bible, even though in Jeremiah 10, it tells you, go not in the way of the heathen. A heathen is a disbeliever in God. For the heathen goes out into the wilderness and cutteth down a tree with the axe, and decks it with silver and with gold, and fasten it with hammer and nails, that it moveth not. Is that not a Christmas tree? Then what in the hell you look like with a Christmas tree right up there next to Jesus' picture in the church? That's a weapon of mass deception. They tell you in churchianity that God is a spirit. But in Exodus 15:3 it says God is a man of war. Genesis 1:26 says that we were made in his image and likeness. It means we look like him. He's called a he. A he is a pronoun. A pronoun takes the place of a noun. A noun describes a person, place, or a thing. God's not a thing, or he would be pronoun it. But if he's pronoun he describes a person. God is a human being. Abraham said that he's seen the Lord walking through the plains of Mamre. Sarah cooked 3 meals for the Lord and the angels with the Lord. So the angels were human. God was a man. The Bible says every eye shall see them, every tongue shall confess. What spirits cannot be seen, only felt. If every eye is going to see God, God has to be in a flesh form. Did you hear me? When Jesus was arguing with the Jews, he said unto the Jews that I am the Son of God. And they said unto him that you are not the Son, for you are the only one that bears witness of yourself. Then Jesus responded, is it not written in your law that the testimony of 2 men is accepted as truth? I am one that bears witness of myself, and my Father is the other one. If God's it was his Father, then he's saying a man. God's a man. That's a weapon of mass deception. Then they tell you that you can't see God and live. But in Genesis 3:8 it says that Adam heard God's footsteps. Okay, if wind hits this, spirit hits that, you don't hear it. The only way you can hear something is if physical hits physical. So if he heard the footsteps, God had to have physical feet. If it says, and Adam hid his face from God. The only way you can hide from something is that you have to be able to see it. And know how to put something in front of you and that it cannot see you. But in order for you to do that, you have to see it, and the spirit can be seen. So in order for Adam to hide, he had to be looking at a real man. Then it says you cannot see God and live, but Adam and them did live. According to Genesis 18:1, Moses spoke face to face with God as a man speaketh to his friend and still was alive. According to the book of Genesis 5:22, Enoch walked with God and was taken to heaven. But Enoch never died. So Enoch was walking with God and went to heaven while he was alive. Uh-oh. Weapons of mass deception. All praise is due to Allah. They tell you in church it's okay to eat hog. But Deuteronomy 14:8, Leviticus 11:7 says it is forbidden to eat the swine flesh, nor touch its dead carcass. God don't even want you touching pig, because inside the pig is microscopic parasites called trichina worms. They are so small that they can go through the pores of your skin. They get into your bloodstream, go into your stomach, eat your digestive fluids, work their way up your spine, get into the hair, eat the brain cells, and eat away at the eye tissue. So the hog eater's eyes are yellow, and it sounds mental power. That's the Bible. You say, but that's the Old Testament. Okay, Reverend, we got you. Since you want to be the Honorable Reverend Pork Chop. That's the Old Testament, huh? Well, guess what? Deuteronomy 14 is the same chapter where tithing comes from. So next time I come to church and you ask for that 10%, I'm going to tell you that's the Old Testament. I bet you ain't going for that. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. According to the Bible, Jesus was looking for a good home for some devils. He was casting devils out of the woman. And he was looking for a good place for devils to live. And it says he searched around, and after he pulled the devils out of the woman, he sent them into the swine. And the swine went and ran into the sea. So the swine was a good home for a devil. Well, what do you look like eating a hog if that's where devils can live? No, that's churchianity. That's not Christianity. That's weapons of mass deception. You go to church and they say that you are not fully committed. You're not all the way in. You got to take that communion. Drink of this wine. It represents the blood of our Savior. Eat of this cracker. And just a public service announcements to the preacher, and the least you can do is get a wheat cracker. Because Jesus was a black man, my God. You got to get the whitest saltine you can find. Come on now. At least get a wheat cracker, because he had hair like lamb's wool and feet like brass burned in the oven. He's black. Now, if you found somebody drinking some other human person's blood, you call them a vampire. And if you found some man eat another human being, you call him a cannibal. What the hell are you telling me? I can't be a real follower of Jesus until I become a cannibal and a vampire? No, it means something different. It's talking about taking the life of Jesus in and being as Jesus would be if he was alive in 2011. Did you hear me? He said, no, and then you're not all the way in until you got to get baptized. I want to know what Sunday you coming. They told me that they wasn't going to let me, when I went to church, they wasn't going to let me do the communion or nothing. I said, why not? They told me I wasn't sincere enough. And they was telling the truth. Had me off in that dark room, trying to get me to speak in tongues. Everybody in there laying hands on me, crying and spitting all on me. And I wasn't doing it. I was trying. Then they told me just say Jesus. Jesus. Say it again, Jesus. Keep saying Jesus, 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 Jesus. I said, I'm not speaking in tongues, I'm tongue twisted. But they was hoping that I was going to speak in tongues so that then they could come and dip me in the water. Well, I'm going to show you about tongues speaking in a minute too. Now, Jesus was baptized by his cousin, John the Baptist, in the Sea of Galilee. Is that right? But guess what Jesus says after he comes up out the water? In Mark 1:8, Jesus talking red writing. You know that's Jesus. Red writing. He came up wet. He said, I was baptized in the water, but ye shall be baptized in the Spirit. In other words, I got dipped in the water, but I realized that this ain't where it's at. And you know it ain't where it's at. There is no difference before baptism and after baptism, except you started off as a dry Negro and became a cold and wet Negro, but a Negro still the same. No, the real baptism is not the body being dipped in water 3 times. It's the mind being dipped into knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And when the mind becomes baptized, you will become a changed man and a changed woman. Are y'all all right? 1 Corinthians says, now, brother, if I come and speak to you in tongues, what good would it be to you? So I said, well, what did you say? I don't know, only the Lord knows. Well, don't the Lord know how to read hearts? So I don't even have to say nothing for the Lord to know what I'm thinking. And how you know you didn't cuss God out? How do you know? You don't know for sure. No, what Paul is trying to say to the Father. It's just, you know, humor is like cherry flavoring on some medicine. Because medicine nasty. Hard to take, but it works good, but you got to put a little flavor on it. Y'all all right? Man, I'm not going to keep going through all of it, but y'all want to go, can we get 7 minutes? We want to knock down these weapons of mass deception. And after we get finished with the weapons of mass deception, we got to go after the suicide bomb. You say, what? All right, we'll talk to you about that. They tell us in church that the Jews are the chosen people of God. But Jesus did not consider them to be the chosen people of God. In the 8th chapter of John, the 4th verse, when he was talking to the Jews, he said, I know you. You are of your father, the devil. He was a liar and a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. He said, if you were the children of God, then you would love me, for I proceeded forth from the Father. And if you were Abraham's seed, then you would do the works of Abraham. He said in Revelations 2:9 and 3:9 that the Jews that call themselves Jews today are of the synagogue of Satan. Did you hear me? Genesis 15:13 says that to become the chosen people of God, you have to be the seed of Abraham. And the seed of Abraham will be a stranger in a land not theirs. Number one, condition, stranger in a land not theirs. They should be a servant or a slave for 400 years. Did you hear me? And after that time, God's going to come and judge the nation that they've served. Well, the Jews, when Jesus was talking to them, and he said to them, the truth shall set you free. The Jews said, how shall we be made free? When we have never been in bondage to any man. Well, if you've never been in bondage to any man, you're not the real seed of Abraham. Did you hear me? Do you know who the real seed of Abraham is? It's you and me. Do you know Abraham was from Babylon? But when him and Sarah was in Egypt, they mistakenly called Abraham an Egyptian. Do you know the word Egypt means land of black and burnt skinned people? Well, how can you mistake Abraham for being an Egyptian unless Abraham was a black man? So if you say the seed of, you're saying the bloodline of. Well, if Abraham was black, then his chosen people from his seed must be black. They got to be a stranger in a land not theirs. They got to be slaves for 400 years. There is no other person fitting that job description other than the so-called American Negro that were made slaves in 1555 here in the wilderness of North America. We are the real chosen people of God. All praise is due to the Lord. Another weapon of mass deception is that Jesus is the only Son of God. Yet according to Genesis 6 verse 2, it says, and the sons of God, sons plural, saw the daughters of men to be fair and took them for wives. But this is in Genesis. There was already some sons. In Job in 1 and 6, it says, and the sons of God departed with him. This is before Jesus was born. Is that right? Jesus didn't tell you he was the only son. Did he? When they say, Master, teach us how to pray, he said, our Father who art in heaven. If he's our Father, if he's our Father, then Jesus is our brother. And if I'm the brother of Jesus and we have the same Father, if I'm a man, I'm a son of God. And if I'm a woman, I am a daughter of God. So in Psalms 82 verse 6, it says, ye are all God's children of the Most High God. So why did they talk this type of talk? It's because that by making him the only son. And they made him a Caucasian. They knew that logic circuits would kick in on the mind. This is a weapon of mass deception. See, if Jesus is the Son of God and he is white, then logically speaking, if he's the Son of God and he's white, then God is his father. In order for him to be white, then his father has to be white too. And since God is good and God is love, then God is good, God is love, and God is white, then white is good and white is love. And wait a minute, I'm black, I'm the opposite of white. Well, if I'm the opposite of white, I'm the opposite of good, the opposite of love, I'm the opposite of God. I am a devil. And even though we never said it to ourselves, this is the reason why we sell so much dope to one another. Lie and kill one another the way we do, because on a subconscious level, we think just like I said. That's a weapon of mass deception. They said that the devil is a spirit. But in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, it says that that day shall not come except there be a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed. Not a spirit, but a man. That's right. A man of sin, the son of perdition. Y'all still with me? Yes, sir. Well, whenever Job seen the sons of God appearing unto him, what happened to him? They showed up, the sons of God. And the scripture says in Job 1 that Satan was also in the midst of them. So if men showed up and Satan was in the midst of them, then Satan had to be a man too. That's right. And Job said, whence cometh thou, Satan? They didn't even know who they was with. So he had to be just like them. Now you know, if he was a goblin with horns, a pitchfork, and a tail, they would have identified him a long time ago. But it's obvious that they could not see him because he looked just like they did. But Job was able to identify him that he was Satan. A man. Y'all still with me? Well, we ain't going to keep going through that, but y'all got the math. The point is, brothers, sisters, that we have been tricked. And every single thing that I said today, whether it's communion, tongue speaking, baptism, white Jesus, ghost God, ghost devil, we've taken this psychological pill in. And it has very, very, very damaging side effects. The side effects of this are unemployment, miseducation, horrible parenting skills, obesity. Did you hear me? The inability to rear our own offspring, the ability to start a business and keep it going. Every condition that we are in is a side effect of weapons of mass deception. When they drop a bomb, a weapon of mass destruction, that bomb does damage on its initial impact, but it leaves in the atmosphere radiation. And that radiation begins to corrupt the bloodstream of future generations. We are the victims of a direct bomb being dropped on us as a people. And we are living in an environment of the radiation of Satan's thoughts. We in a mind war. Last thing I wanted to share with you is clashing with suicide bombers. Now, I'm not talking about nobody in the Middle East getting on a bus. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about mind wars. Well, what does a suicide bomber do? A suicide bomber straps themselves with bombs, hurts other people. But in the course of hurting other people, some of the other people might live. But because the bombs are attached to him whenever he detonates them, he absolutely is going to die. Well, spiritual suicide bombs are gossip, slack talk, backbiting, talking about people behind their back, degrading other people. So the Quran says that about those who backbite, would one of you eat the flesh of your dead brother? So slack talk, gossip, and backbiting is considered cannibalism. Do you know whenever a creature eats its own kind, that it produces mad cow disease or scrapie among sheep, and it causes the organs to begin to liquefy, and the person or the object that eats the flesh of its own kind goes crazy? So I'm saying that gossip, slack talking, backbiting is suicide bombing. You think you're hurting somebody else, and you are. But more so than what you are doing to them, you are a cannibal. And you are eating the flesh of your dead brother, which means that you're going to go crazy. Your organs are going to liquefy, and you're going to die an untimely death. So I say to you, brothers and sisters, let us get ourselves geared up for the greatest battle in the history of the world.
Yes, sir.
It's not on land. It's not on sea. It's not in the sky. It's in the mind.
Yes, sir.
And if we organize ourselves to defeat weapons of mass deception and guard ourselves from being suicide bombers, I guarantee you we will be a successful people. After all, what Allah revealed is the truth. And he said the bottom rail will become the top. The least will become the most. The last will be made first. And the stone that all the builders rejected, that's us, will become the cornerstone of the building of a new world. We are the future rulers of the planet.
Yes, sir.
And the entire universe. We just need to be retaught and retrained.